Okay, we're going to focus in on our last group of readings in 5s and 25s in this video. The chapters we are going to be discussing are A Gentleman's Stand, pages 359 to 368, narrated by Lieutenant Donovan. Floorboards, pages 370 to 373, narrated by Lester Pleasant. And Few People Are So Lucky, pages 374 to 377, narrated by Dodge. So, all three of these chapters, we visited in again with our narrators, and we see that they are moving on. That it is the final chapter for each one of them. We see that they have changed. And so, I would like you to keep this question in mind as you're reading these chapters. What evidence is there that the characters are evolving and readjusting to their new reality in each chapter? What do we see them doing and saying in these chapters that indicate that there have been some changes? So, in the chapter A Gentleman Stands, our narrator is Lieutenant Donovan. The chapter opens with Lieutenant Donovan going on a road trip, and he has gone to Dallas, Texas to visit Michelle Gomez, who is now being cared for by her sixth sister, Denise. So if we go to page 361, the top of that page, of a little description of his visit. After a couple of hours, it felt as though I'd submerged myself into the quiet of this house. We sit and talk while Denise paints Michelle's fingernails and rubs her feet. It seems at times like she's looking at me and managing to focus in regards to Michelle. The sparks of recognition I allow myself to hope for that never comes. But neither does the shadow of pain and despair that I'd feared. She moans from time to time when she wants her position shifted, and when Denise turns her, Michelle's long black hair falls away to reveal a dent in her forehead where the skull is missing. Okay, so then the chapter shifts in time to when Lieutenant Donovan received his separation orders. So we're going to be looking at a switch to the past after he leaves the Gomez home. And we will be going to the airport in San Diego, and Lieutenant Donovan preparing for his flight back home to Alabama. So if you can go to page 362, about halfway down. On my last night of active duty, Cobb drove me to the San Diego airport to catch my flight home to Alabama. I had no plans for my month of terminal leave beyond an uninterrupted week of sleep on my sister's couch. As I stepped from Cobb's Jeep with the duffel over my shoulder, he reached over to shake my hand and wish me well. Glad you were around. Good luck, Pete. Unprepared for his sincerity, I muttered something incoherent before recovering my wits and offering a curt, "Thanks, you too." A flood of nostalgia swallowed me up as his taillights passed out of sight, and I realized with a start that my last true moments as a Marine had slipped away. I was alone, quite suddenly, with just the stories. The truth had driven off with Cobb. Okay, and then the chapter is going to switch back once again to present time. Donovan has just left the Gomez home, and he's pulled over to the side of the road in a Dallas cul-de-sac, overcome with emotion. So if you can look at the final paragraph on page 368, and I want you to be thinking about what predictions you can make about Lieutenant Donovan's future based on this final paragraph. Sitting in my car on the side of a Dallas cul-de-sac, I think about my father. We could talk about nothing at all, and I'd be grateful for it. We could talk about football. He could tell me about how many bales he cut from the fields, square bales or round bales. I could play with my nephew and give my brother-in-law a firm handshake. I don't deserve all that, but I want to. And I certainly don't deserve Paige, but I take out my phone and dial her anyway. She answers in the first ring. Okay, so our next chapter is narrated by Doc Pleasant, and he has just left Lieutenant Donovan's place. He's heading to his father's home, and his plan is to pack up and go see Zahn, who lives in Missouri. So if you could go to page 371, second paragraph. I'm in my bedroom now packing. It's a haul up to Missouri to see Zahn, and there's no coming back if I forget something. So I'm making sure I have everything I need for a lawn visit. My dad's out in the hallway right outside my door. I can feel him there, thinking about whether to knock. He's pulling out all the air just by standing there. The room is shrinking. I feel the door straining at the hinges, ready to break into 1,000 splinters. He walks away, and the floorboards talk about it as he pauses. This chapter ends with Doc Pleasant finally sharing his story with his father and about past events in Iraq that have really stayed with him, what he carries. And I'd like you to think about his story and why this is such a turning point for Lester as you read through this chapter. And our last chapter, Few People Are So Lucky, is narrated by Dodge, and he is in the streets of Tunisia. He is giving an impassioned speech following the death of a martyr to their cause. And this final chapter leaves Dodge's fate hanging, and I'd like you to think about what you predict the outcome will be based on the ending. So on page 375, we see Dodge's impassioned speech about 3/4 of the way down. He says, and I made a decision too, to die in these streets if necessary, though I am not Tunisian. Did I tell you that? Also, I am not Syrian, though my passport says that I am, and I am not Iraqi. I stop, I is Dodge, and take a final deep breath before finishing this thought. I am weak, and that is all, but I am not without a home. To be weak, to be scared and frail, this is to have a home. These people behind me are all very weak and all very scared. We are so easy to kill. President Ben Ali has made certain that we are all reminded of this. But to die here, outside where it is cold, this would be to die at home. And few people are so lucky as to die at home. And our chapter ends, of course, with Dodge connecting with Lieutenant Donovan. On the bottom of 376, I press a finger into one ear, muffle the noise of celebration, and wait for an answer. He has phoned the number that he has received. A confused, familiar voice speaks to me. Hello? I swallow my fear. Lester? No, you've reached Pete. I think you must have the wrong... Wait, who is this? This is K-Tep. I am calling for the doc. Can you get him? There is a long silence. I can barely hear you. Say again, who is this? Then I recognize the voice. Mulasam. Dodge? He says into the dirty connection. Wait, who is this really? This isn't someone messing with me, right? Please, Mulasam, please, hurry to get a pen and paper. I have something to read. You must write this down. I pull a wadded page from the front pocket of my jeans, ready to begin. Okay, so I'd like you to think a little bit about these ending chapters and what you've read and what you predict the future of our three characters are. And we will have our final discussion and reading check in our next class meeting. Hope you enjoy your reading. See you then.